Hello everyone, welcome to Interfaith Odyssey. I'm Azar Alizadeh, and it's always nice to have you watching our show. This program is sponsored by Metropolitan Christian Council of Detroit, Windsor. And let me introduce to you my good friends from all different faiths. And they are Mr. Gupta from the Hindu community. We have Rabbi Dorit Edut from the Jewish community, Raj Shell from the Sikh community, Mr. John Sachs from the Baha'i community, and Dr. Olaf Lydum from the Christian community. Thank you to all of you to being here. Now today we are talking about something that some people are confused, and that is there any difference between religion and spirituality? Is it really different? Because I know I have some friends, they say they are not belonging to any religions, they don't like organized religions, but their spirituality is as good as people with religious ideas and beliefs. So we want to know what you think. And we start with Mr. Gupta.
Yes. First, the question which you have asked, the answer is yes. There is difference between a religious person and a spiritual person. In our scriptures, as I always mention, Vedas, Gita and Upanishads, there is no word religious. The word is really dharmic. And dharmic means who follows dharma. And dharma, what is dharma? That is substantial element of a thing which takes you to the prosperity. The religious person is quite different. If you can call it maximum, religious person is theory, but the spiritual person is practical. So a religious person can become in a month because he follows some symbols, some rituals, and he can learn that. Maybe in any religion we can do that after a month or 2 months, and we can be called, and people will call us because I go to a certain temple or church or anywhere, therefore I am religious. But actually he is not spiritual at all, because spiritual person or spirituality is a long life process. What we expect from the spiritual person? We expect non-violence, we accept non-stealing, we accept celibacy, we accept control over the senses of action, senses of knowledge, and so on and so forth. All the moral values which we say, and every religious person also says, but he is not following that. That is why he is not a spiritual person. But spiritual person, when we can call him, that he is to follow all these things. He is to respect others. He should be compassionate. He should have all the moral values. He should have the values of the human beings also. And there are certain things which he must follow, or you can call the ingredients. Important ingredients of a spiritual person is sacrifice, and to respect others, non-attachment. When all these things come together in a person, then you can call him a dharmic person, then you can call him a spiritual person. And in our culture or in our Vedas, I always quote Vedas, Vedas, Vedas. Let us know the meaning of Vedas also. Veda means the knowledge, the fundamental knowledge which God gives when he creates the earth, the man on the earth. All the good things which take you to gain, to morality, all these things are in Vedas. Therefore there is no word Hindu or Sikh or anybody. There is a word in Hindu is human being, and we call Manush, you call man. It is from the same tradition. So all those who are following all those things, they are all human beings. And there is a path which we call 8 phases path, Ashtanga Yoga. There are 8 steps which you are to follow. The first are certain 5 observances, and there are 5 negations. Negations you may do or not, but 5 observances you are to. The first observance is non-violence. The second is truth, and so on. So these are the ways you are to follow. And then yam, niyam, asan, pranayam, pratyahar, dharana, dhyan, samadhi. These are the 8-fold. First observances and negations, and then you are to do certain exercise physically, and then control over vital breath, and then control over all the senses, and so on and so forth. We can talk more about the religious and the spiritual person.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, Raj, shall you tell us the difference between spirituality and religion?
Thank you, Azar. Well, it was almost like Guru Nanak, the founder of Sikhism, knew that we would be having this conversation. So he took care of it even before anything, we could get some misperceptions. So I feel that in Sikhism there is a very good balance between spirituality and religion. Number one, religious, sometimes people that feel they're spiritual feel like religious people live in a box. And and they're just comfortable in their box. And spiritual people feel like, oh, everything goes as long as we're good people, and we can just pray ourselves and all of that, and achieve that enlightenment.
Yes.
Or merge with God. Well, Guru Nanak puts into place that God is more close, in terms of like we are to always be working on ourselves. So we are on that journey to finally merging with God, but we have to always make it a personal relationship with God. However, he also addresses the problem that we human beings have, in that we have something called the I, or the me, the hame, which is called, and that is it's a false sense of who we are. I heard this beautiful saying that, just like the eye can never see itself, it can only see a reverse image. It can look at everything. The mind is the same way. The mind can never really see itself. And we only learn it through interacting with others. So that's where Guru Nanak set forth, and all the gurus, we have 10 gurus, they set forth that you've got to be in a congregation. You need to be around like-minded people. So that's a very important part of Sikhism. So it's not like you can just, do it without discipline. You need the discipline, but you also need the community in order to reach enlightenment faster. So I believe that there is a nice balance. When you look at religion and spirituality, it's not a dualism. The Guru said, get rid of all duality. Think of it as all one thing. So you're on your personal journey, but you also need the discipline, and also being connected to people so that we can all help each other. We're not an island. And he set it up in a way that, it addresses all of the issues. Somebody who's religious, somebody who thinks they're spiritual. We need it all.
Very good, thank you.
Yeah, thank
And
you.
Dr. Olaf, you tell us the difference between spirituality and religion.
Yeah, there are different ways of talking about it. One of the metaphors that I like that actually comes from an interfaith author and teacher and highly respected scholar, Houston Smith, says spirituality to religion is like the skeleton of the human body to the rest of the body. That an essential aspect of being human is the skeleton. The rest of our body would just sink without it. Christian anthropology understands the human being to be a mind, body, and spirit unity. We are inherently spiritual as well as physical and cognitive. We've been created that way. Another metaphor that I can think of comes from linguistics. the infant, an early baby, has the capacity for any language. It's like a pool of symbols are in their brain mechanism. And from that pool of symbols, they get enculturated into particular language and lingual forms. Likewise, you might say there's a pool of spirituality in every human soul with all kinds of applied possibilities. And then the culture, the history, the people around, the family, all of that draws on that inherent spiritual capacity, and you might say religifies it, brings it to a form that is meant to enhance the linguistic potential, not to supplant it or substitute for it. When I do spirituality workshops, and I notice when other professors do interreligious teaching, the most hands of students and people that goes up is to the question these days: how many of you consider yourself spiritual but not religious? In the postmodern world, which we are, the modernity of trusting institutions, including institutional religions and their spokespersons, their leaders, has been kind of tattered and shattered. And so it's no wonder in a postmodern culture, people will be seeking their own path. I think I checked out Google, by the way. Where does Google go with spirituality? And Google says, basically, it's a way that is meaningful, empowering you to be self-transcendent. In other words, deal with your ego addiction. And so spirituality involves higher verities, virtues, values that helps life to flourish. And religions can definitely format that and encourage that and empower people. Sometimes people have like this metaphor. When I say spirituality is like riding a horse, spirituality is an energy, like riding a horse. And I ask, how many of you have ridden a horse bareback? Very few hands go up. How many of you have ridden a horse with a saddle? Nearly all hands go up.
You have the saddle.
Spirituality is the horse to which religion is a saddle. It helps to attach to the spiritual energies that is the way, the deepest way of life's flourishing, which is at the center of our soul.
Thank you very much. I say later what I think. And we go to John Sachs. You tell us about spirituality versus religion.
Spirituality versus religion. There's a lot to that. In order to begin to approach that, I think I have to, from a Baha'i point of view, I have to start with one of the very fundamental teachings of the Baha'i faith, which has to do with God. And that teaching is that God is, in his essence, unknowable. That we can no more apprehend the essence of the Creator than that table right here can apprehend the essence of the carpenter that made it. The difference is just that great. That all ideas, all thoughts that we have, by definition, the moment we fail, we form them, fall short. What does that have to do with religion and spirituality? Because out of that, if we are the products of an all-loving, unknowable Creator who wishes to be known, there has to be a mechanism whereby that Creator makes his will and knowledge known to mankind. And understand, the writings are so clear about the unknowableness of the Creator that man, by his unaided effort alone, can learn nothing about God. All that we have ever learned about the Creator has been brought to us by certain holy souls sent to us by the Creator who have brought the religions to mankind. That's the reason for the multiplicity of religions on this earth. Those religions not only explain to us that a Creator exists, but what we are expected to do. How are we supposed to order our relationships? How are we to treat the world we live in? How do we order our lives and the planets and everything around us? How do we do this? We get instructions in a progressive way over time by the founders of the great faiths, who come in succession, teaching us more as we evolve socially and spiritually on the planet. So religion are these vessels of teachings that give us a framework for understanding our relationship to both the divine and our fellow human beings. Okay, so what is spirituality? Once these energies are released into the world, and we have to understand them as energies, and once that knowledge is released into the world, that energy gets applied, and this is where prayer and meditation and the acquisition and expression of virtues and all the good characteristics that we think of to draw us closer to the Creator. This is spirituality. And this is transcendent of any particular faith because it's brought by all of them. So,
Thank you so much. Very good job. Now, Rabbi Dorit, you tell us.
Well, I think I find truth in what everyone has said, first of all. Secondly, and we have this saying that there are 70 faces to the Torah, so we represent 6 of them. 70. I truthfully feel that this is my opinion here, that those who say that they are spiritual but not religious, for whatever reason it may be, are seeking the same experience that somebody who is truly religious is seeking too. And as you have said, it is a connection with God or something beyond ourselves. Can you be an atheist and spiritual? Well, I think that's somewhat of a contradiction. But when life comes with critical moments, birth, death, divorce, marriage, I think at that point, people who are spiritual usually seek some form of expression, and then they turn to religious. I've been asked to do interfaith marriages, and inevitably they want to have the breaking of the glass, which is for they want to have a ketubah, a religious document of marriage, and so I feel that that perhaps people, the younger generation, doesn't want the negative, the separations that have been made by the different religions, but at the same time, they want to have the spirit of the different religions. And ultimately, it's a choice, and young people often don't want to make choices. So there's where I feel spirituality and religion sort of come together, but are also separate.
Thank you so much. Now, when I hear sometimes people say, oh, we don't like that some religion tells me when I should eat, when I don't eat, when I should say prayers, when I don't. I just want to do things myself, spirituality, and I'm just fine without religion. Then I say to them, I can understand you, but just imagine if, let's say in our area, there was no traffic lights. No traffic lights, and it would be disaster, just from each side maybe. You know how much when we have a light off, is just takes long time, or there is an accident.
Right.
So I say that is what religion really needs to be there, to put things in order. And
The trick, in some sense, is to combine the two. Can you be both spiritual and religious?
Sure.
And there is a wonderful format in the Christian tradition of meditation and prayer called the Lectio Divina, the Divine Lectionary, with 4 steps that exhibit both religion and spirituality. The first step is take a short text and read it several times to yourself. Like, God is love, those who live in love live in God and God in them. The second step, dialogue with that idea in yourself. Am I a loving person? How have I experienced love? And you go richly into an internal dialogue, active. Third step, you go in an intentional connection to the sacred in prayer. You pray the things you've read and have talked about. But the most important step, in some senses, is the fourth. You go into deep silence. You go into deep silence, into the deep center of existence. And that's how you can be both spiritual and religious.
There is a quote of the Baha'i writings that I'd like to read that kind of bears on this. It says, "The great being saith, O ye children of men, the fundamental purpose animating the faith of God and his religion is to safeguard the interest and promote the unity of the human race." What's it for? "And to foster the spirit of love and fellowship amongst men." So that's what religion is for. And then comes a cautionary, and this is why people turn away from it. "Suffer it not to become a source of dissension and discord, of hate and enmity."
Yeah, these are the definitions given by religious people.
Yeah.
But you see in Oxford Dictionary what is meant by religion.
Mhm.
And also before 3,000 years or 4,000 years back, who were the people? 2,000 years, 3,000 years back, Jews, 2,000 years back, Christians. 1,500, all Abrahamic faith, 500 Muslim. Who were the person? They were all men. They were all Manu, means they were all human beings. Created by God and given that education of Vedas for everybody, how to live in life and how to it's a journey towards God. God means he is within us, omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient. Where we are to go to find him, it is within us and all around also. Tadejati, tannejati, tad dure, tad vintake. He is far from those who don't want to seek for him. Because truth is always away from them who don't want to know the truth. So that's all. So we are all basically what I am saying. Religious person is living in theory and the spiritual person is living in practical. I am not separating them because I have been teaching science and mathematics for 30 years. So theory is important. But when that theory is put into practice, then it is the real thing. That is what Newton did, that is what Einstein did, that is what everybody did that. So that is what I feel.
Yeah, I would, just, just as a different perspective, I believe that, like, for example, in the Sikh faith, we don't have clergy. No man is given the power. So religion has been limited automatically by the structure. I think it's very similar to the Baha'i
It is,
faith
but that's
as well.
very
where
good
it's
point.
similar to Baha'i
Yes,
faith.
it's very, we are,
Yeah.
our 11th, we have 10 gurus, and our 11th guru is our holy scriptures. So we are not to follow any man, per se. So religion has been limited, spirituality has been opened up in that
Yes.
it is a personal journey. Okay, but you also need each other. You also need community. You can't do it alone because we're all one. So, yeah.
I'd like to just make a quick remark when you mentioned can an atheist be spiritual? And I would like to dare say yes. And there are theologians who dig into that question and answer it, like Richard Carney in his book Anatheism. It's like many people reject the old theisms, the old religious understandings, but they're searching for a new narrative to be the way, to be a meaningful way of their lives. And very often atheists are very much searching for deeper meaning, but they eschew religions as offering that. So they're looking for other ways. And there are some people who even promote what they call a psychological spirituality. And Sam Harris, a well-known atheist author, has just written a book. I've got to dig into it, called Waking Up, How to Be Spiritual and Not Religious. So I'm looking forward to delving into the question. But many atheists have said, why aren't we sitting with religionists in conversations like you have?
Many people told me the same thing, that we should have an atheist here.
Here on
Yeah.
It would be very,
Interesting,
it would definitely
wouldn't be
interesting,
interesting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think also, oftentimes I've found in talking to people that for people who oftentimes will say, I don't believe, the problem is they're rejecting something. Okay, I've always said, many times people will what they're turning their back on is Jovus Maximus, not God. It's a question of what do you think the Creator is? And if there's an image out there that is man-made and you turn your back on that, does that make you an atheist? It's a good question to ask, I think. And so that means that when you see truly spiritual behavior by a person who says, well, I don't believe, no. There's an inconsistency here, and the behavior earns the place at the table.
Right.
I definitely agree with you, Olaf.
Yeah.
Well, and I think we also live, you say we live in a postmodern era. We live in this time that my generation certainly grew up in believing in science and rationalism and all that, and post-World War II, it was a very conflictual time. Our children, however, are going back and saying, well, let's go back to something that is beyond us, but that unites us too. And
That's right.
and they are definitely seeking. So I'm not knocking spirituality, but I still think that there could be more that they could
Very
learn
good.
about.
Thank you, Dorit. Well, our time is up, and I think that was nice.